All right, look, I don't want you to get too excited in case it never hits play, but there's a Sword of Fire and Ice in today's deck list. Holy... Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today Parker has asked me to play Hammertime in Legacy. In case you are not familiar with the general deck from Modern, we want to give a creature +10/+10 and murder our opponent with it. It's that simple. Okay, there's actually a few more steps, because we do need to get it equipped to creatures. And we can do that with something like Sigarda's Aid, or Pure Steel Paladin with Metalcraft, or the newer, but not necessarily less powerful, Battlefield Improvisation, where target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn, and if it's attacking, you can attach any number of equipment you control to it. Now, there's one thing that I haven't seen in play before, at least not in this format, and that is Leyline Axe. So this has that like Leyline cycle. If it's in your opening hand, you can start with it in play ability, where equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has double strike and trample, which is pretty nasty. The thing that I like about these style of decks is that they are very good at tutoring their pieces. We have Urza's Saga to find us the hammer. We have Stoneforge Mystic to find us any piece of equipment. And that can include just an outright body that is relatively large. I will say that I'm not the biggest fan of Wasteland in this build. Now, let's move this back up here. This may be a just necessity based on how good the various One Ring, Ancient Tomb, Cloud Post, Tron Land decks are in the format right now. But when I'm looking at the number of white sources in this deck, it is relatively light for a deck that wants to be casting white Pure Steel Paladins. So I'm a little nervous about that. I suppose the Witch Enchanters helps out a bit, but this is still 8 colorless lands. And some of your mana sources, like the Mox Opals, are not going to be turned on the entire time. Sideboard fucks. I don't think there's any other way to say it. We have a playset of Mana Tithe here, which is kind of hilarious. I don't know if it's actually good or not, but damn it, Mana Tithe is very, very fun to play with and is one of the best got 'em cards ever. And then my beloved Sword of Fire and Ice. Protection from red and blue. Shock a target, draw a card. Ah, I miss you, bud. It's been a long time. Maybe I can get you into a commander deck or something. Give you a little bit of love. And beyond that, there are some other cool things rounding out the deck. Esper Sentinel can be a little bit of card draw, for example. And we do also have Steel Shaper's Gift as yet another tutor to get the equipment into our hand. So let's see how this deck feels in action. Folks, if you need any Magic cards, please consider checking out my sponsor, toamagic.com. No exaggeration, I did thousands of dollars worth of business with them over the weekend at MagicCon Atlanta, and I do not regret it at all. I sold them a lot of cards on behalf of a friend, and that friend is about to be very, very happy. If you're looking to get just about anything, promo code ThrabenU will save you 5% on your order. All right, let's battle. So my opening hand only has one creature. Oh, opponent has some kind words. Anyway, my opponent only... Blah, 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 blah. My hand only has one creature, so if my opponent does something like Thought Seizes me and takes this Stoneforge Mystic, things can get a little dicey. Otherwise... We got the Leyline Axe, question mark, exclamation point repeated. Oh, hell yeah. Force of Will pitching Murktide Regent. With double Battlefield Improvisation here, I don't actually need that all that much. Oh no, my volume is still very loud from playing Hades 2, which is an absolutely fantastic game, by the way. Fully recommend that. Are we into this immediately? Murktide Regent makes it more likely that we're playing against a tempo deck, but I could still just be eating Entomb immediately. Do I have Flex Slot Graveyard Hate in game 1? I don't think I do. It's over here. I'm going to do this under the assumption that some portion of the time my Stoneforge Mystic just gets countered here. Not this time. I am going to say yes. I think I am still just going to pick up a Colossus Hammer, because the goal is Leyline Axe plus Colossus Hammer. Please not Entomb, please not Entomb. Hey, that's not black mana. Nice. Blue-black decks are scary. Fuck! Bonus says, I wish I were playing something cooler, but I also want to test for Eternal Weekend. Penguin cards, there's nothing wrong with just fucking winning. Oh, thank God it's not reanimate immediately. I get another turn. I am horrified that this Archon of Cruelty is going to eat me alive. I think that means that I'm going for my combo kill this turn. So this is an instant. Yeah, I think I cast the Colossus Hammer, and it's unfortunate if it gets countered. But this is it. This is the moment of heroes. No blocks. Battlefield. Improvisation. Do we get the kill before the Reanimator deck does the broken thing, or are we just going to eat a daze? Ha ha! Yeah, baby! Good guys win, bad guys lose. Sorry, Penguin cards, you're the bad guy today, and you know it. So I am in to Tormod's Crypt and Leyline of the Void here to try to stop my opponent from doing the reanimation stuff. But I probably also need to be at least thinking about Swords to Plowshares to answer the Murktide Regents, Tamios, Barrogoyfs of the world. I'm going to turn Paradise Mantle into Tormod's Crypt. I'm never boarding these out. This is not really a Retrofitter Foundry grind them out matchup. Shadow Spear is mid. I think it's pretty easy to get 5 cards for the Leylines. Getting the swords into play too might be tough. I could just not do Leyline Axe. That is, I suppose, reasonable. I could probably go down a couple of tutors without missing them. Go down like one of these. This would be my game plan versus just my opponent's only game plan is go for the graveyard, but having to respect all of those other plans too is tough. I'm going to hope that I just out-damage fair creatures that my opponent is doing. This is a medium opening hand that does not have any graveyard hate. I think I'm willing to fish a little bit for a leyline. Not that leyline. This just has, well, I guess it has 1 land. Land, Esper Sentinel, Ornithopter. Let's go to 5. I hit the Tormod's Crypt naturally. Land into Leyline Axe, cast Colossus Hammer, cast Mox Opal, Stoneforge Mystic, or something like this. This is gonna be fine. I need the Metalcraft for Mox Opal. I'm gonna put one of these back. I guess I put the hammer back. There's my axe. This was not the Leyline of the Void opener that I wanted. Hopefully this is fine. Ugh, Thoughtseize is so good. Critical card of the format right now. Unquestionably. This knocks me off of my Metalcraft for my turn 1 Stoneforge Mystic, which is devastating. Damn. I'm gonna go ahead and just cast this now to put it in play. I don't think I have any reason to wait. But without that Tormod's Crypt, my hand is worse on multiple different levels. Oof. Yeah. It is very possible that I simply do not play Magic. That's cruel, honestly. Did not eat Entomb immediately, so there is some silver lining here. So this gets me to 1 mana. 1 mana, unfortunately, is not 2 mana for Stoneforge Mystic. The ideal draw there was like an artifact land because that turns on Mox Opal immediately. Surveil land, Entomb in response. Thanks, I hate it. So now Atraxa is in the yard, and there's a decently sized graveyard there for things like Murktide Regent as well. Yeah, this is probably the point where I concede. So Wasteland, Archon, Bitter Triumph, Reanimate, yeah. We can probably call it there. Although, what if? All right. That feels like it was a poor showing for my deck there. We just kind of mulliganed to 5. We had a mediocre 7-card hand that we could have kept that did not have access to a Leyline or a Tormod's Crypt to stop my opponent. And then we just got eaten alive by a Thoughtseize after a double mulligan. That's going to happen. All right, what does this do? So we go Ancient Den, Mox Opal, Ornithopter, have 2 mana on turn 1 for like a Pure Steel Paladin. This hand's actually kind of awkward, right? I don't have the hammer payoff for many turns, because I would probably want to play Urza Saga on turn 2. I think I'm going to ship this one. Where the fuck are my ley lines, though? I'm going to keep this. This is a functional hand of Magic the Gathering cards. I don't think it's great, but it's what I have been dealt. Losing the Stoneforge Mystic to a Thoughtseize would be a pretty big blow. But I would draw another card with Esper Sentinel, so, like, you know. And alright, so I lose Stoneforge. Never didn't have it. Okay, we've got a very different plan for this game. The plan is grind them out with Esper Sentinel draw triggers, and hopefully don't just outright die to Entomb Reanimate. Oh yeah, baby. Those aren't perhaps my ideal cards to draw, but I get them. Now, Esper Sentinels only trigger once per turn, so my opponent could now Ponder or Brainstorm or Entomb or Fatal Push or whatever without drawing me another card. And there is a Fatal Push. Alright. This is real good with the hammer. 1, 2, 3. I'm always playing this land. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is a 4-4, then 5-5, then 6-6. Yeah, my opponent could just die next turn, right? With Battlefield Improvisation. Because they are at 14 already. I'm going to get another card here. Oh, no, I am not. Sure. There are also timelines where I just get Tormod's Crypt, and I don't try to kill my opponent. Because if I get the hammer, and then my opponent counters Battlefield Improvisation, it is admittedly quite bad for me. Yeah, I probably just 2-turn them with Urza Saga tokens anyway. I think I do get Tormod's Crypt. Yeah, as much as I want to do the cool, sexy thing, I think this is the unsexy Urza Saga Construct Token Beatdown Parade. I mean, unless you're into Urza Saga tokens, I'm not gonna judge. Oh, my opponent has conceded here. They did a Moto misclick on their previous Ponder, and they said that it totally messed up their ability to play this specific game. After they did not just immediately Entomb Reanimate me, I think this multiple Esper Sentinel situation was very good for me, so this worked out. An opponent says cheers and have a great day. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. If you want to see upcoming sets, if you want to understand commander brackets, or if you just want an awesome place to store all, and I mean all, of your deck lists, Moxfield is the place. You can organize all of your decks by folders, and you can even change the views. You like visual, they've got that. You like text, they've got that. Check out my Moxfield Profield if you want to see all, and I mean all, of the decks that I've been cooking up. Okay, opening hand does not have functional colored mana, so is, I think, automatically a mulligan. Land, Esper Sentinel. This is gonna be fine. I imagine it's one of these two going back. I think I'm going to do the Pure Steel Paladin since it is the most mana intensive of these cards. Let's get in there with an Esper Sentinel. I'm going to go ahead and cast my Mox Opal now, even if I don't get Metalcraft. I don't think I need to hide that card for any reason, and on the off chance my opponent is doing something like an Echo of Eons deck, having this in play could be beneficial. It is an Urza Saga Mirror. I'm probably not going to get 2 mana to cast Witch Enchanter, so Witch Enchanter is probably a land here. You're probably playing against a lands variant of some kind. We don't want to see Exploration or Mana Bond as the follow-up here. Rough. Okay. And booties. Ooh. So this just has to be a land. We'll go ahead and throw down the Stoneforge Mystic here. I think we are going for the hammer immediately. My Metalcraft awkwardly is not on. I can get it on next turn by casting Colossus Hammer, and then we can use the improvisation to get the equip going. Fuck! That's bad. Opponent's gonna make it now, so Wasteland is not an out to it. Hey, fuck. No! The boots! Well, we literally died on turn 2 to the Merit Lage. Honestly, can't even be mad. That was a nut draw from my opponent. Mox Diamond and Exploration, Stage Depths, and Boots all. Can't even be mad. I am interested in Swords and Pithing Needle. I will think about Tormod's Crypt. This is probably a match where if I don't win by about turn 4, I think, unlikely to win. I think on that note, I'm not going to try to fight against Life from the Loam. I think I'm going to pull this out. This makes chump blockers, technically. Like, I can make Thopters with this. I don't know if I should be trying to play towards that timeline, though. Go down on this, go down on this, trim one of these. Don't take my sideboarding as gospel here. So this is turn 1 Esper Sentinel, turn 2 Tutor for Hammer, turn 3 Get in there. I have no basic lands. I'm rather vulnerable to Wasteland. This is fine. I don't think I am going to mulligan this, but I do wish I had some fast mana here to round out this hand. And hopefully Esper Sentinel draws me a card on the first turn as my opponent plays something. Why didn't you wait? Could have waited. I could have had a card too. You could be card friends. Getting a basic forest. Oh, that's bullshit too. So my opponent cast Once Upon a Time with Esper Sentinel on the stack, so the Once Upon a Time is their first non-creature spell, and Force of Vigor is their second one. I don't even get a card out of that. I expect the game is over. Like, I'm going to play on, but that was very bad for me. That was very, very, very bad for me. I'm going to take some damage. We're going to get the hammer and then pass. I don't have a creature yet. If I draw a land, I have a line on a creature. We are not there yet. Ooh, opponent doesn't have anything going on. And that's a land. Okay. This was looking very grim. Now it's only looking regular bad. Note that my opponent is probably playing somewhere on the order of 37 lands. Mox Diamond discards a land. And then Malevolent Rumble gets on the way. My opponent takes Sajiri there over Tabernacle. I'm considering swordsing this creature right here, because this is worth 10 life. I'm going to swords that creature. My mana is probably tied up for the rest of the game. Weird spot. I don't want to be drawing Leyline Axes right now. So I'll just go ahead and pass the turn here. Life from the Loam is not good for me. That means that my opponent gets the Tabernacle back, which makes my mana even worse than it already was. Hopefully it's still fine, because I just pay with this. That draw is whatever. I get a second Colossus Hammer. I go to Punchies. Send in. No blocks. No. No. I'm so upset. This is Maze of Ith. Yeah, so now getting these equipped doesn't matter. This gained my opponent 23 life. Yup. I can't cast this because this is not a white land. This is too much mana. Rough. My game plan is to now get a Pithing Needle for Maze of Ith. Ah, fuck. If I Battlefield Improvisation to equip while I'm still in combat, I can pay and then Needle Maze of Ith the following turn. I messed up. Hopefully I just draw a land and it doesn't matter. Ornithopter is not a land. Pithing Needle. I'll stop Maze of Ith. Ornithopter is worth 1 point of damage if I play it right now. I'm going to save this for when I have more mana, I think. Yeah, but I suspect that I might have punted the entire game by not just equipping these. I was thinking I'll just play another creature, and then I use this on whichever one does not eat the maze. But that's not better than just killing my opponent. Now my opponent has access to Boseiju and Thespian Stage to copy Maze of Ith after they remove Pithing Needle. Yeah, I think I full-on punted this game. I don't think I beat the Boseiju. I'm going to go ahead and attempt to send in for 4 points of damage. But I suspect one of multiple different ways this ends up being 0 damage. Yes. I do get a land out of the deal, which means that I can play an Ornithopter, but now I'm very bad at saving up mana for the improvisation. I'll play it out. And I guess I will convert this into equipment because I do have the bonus mana. There's a hammer. Now there's Urza Saga in the yard as well. And there's Dark Depths. I think that's it. My opponent's got the Boseiju back. The Dark Depths is here. I will play one more turn cycle, I think, but No, my opponent just gets to Boseiju Ornithopter and then kill me. Yeah, I punted this game. I had a winning line and I didn't see it until 3 seconds too late. GG's. I think this is a medium opening hand. It's just not great in terms of speed. I am not going to have Metalcraft anytime soon for Mox Opal. I can get a hammer multiple different ways. The Pure Steel Paladin is not going to be the easiest to enable. I'm on the draw. I get another card out of this. I am going to say this is fine, and if my opponent is on a faster hand, I outright am going to lose. It is an Underground Mortuary. Feels like we are going to be in the Storm, Witherbloom, Apprentice ballpark, which does not bode well for me, I don't think. I'm going to go ahead and get a hammer to hand. I'll put this Mox Opal into play. It is not online yet, so we can't use that to get a hammer into play. But now it's more realistic to end up with Metalcraft. Yeah, this is what we did not want to see. Oh, it is just Fast Reanimator or Tin Fins. Alright, so opponent's at 12. Now 5. I may be able to still win this game. I think it's very bad for me, though. I lose a hammer. That's not the end of the world. I don't die to a Grizzlebrand in one hit, and my opponent will die to a Stiff Breeze at this point. I think my opponent wins if they put a second creature into play. I would fully just concede to that. And unfortunately, that is happening, and this haste means that they gain that life immediately. We can move on to the next game. And this is exactly what I said. If my opponent has a fast hand, we just lose. They had a fast hand. We just lose. But let's get the ley lines and the Tormod's Crypts in there. I don't know if I'm going to mess around with swords. Let's get cute. Paradise Mantle is going to go. Shadow Spear, Retrofitter Foundry are going to go. Nettle Cyst can probably go. And then we might be messing with ratios of things rather than fully cutting any one effect. This is an okay opening hand. I don't know if okay is good enough here. I can just die very, very quickly to Reanimator stuff if I don't keep a Leyline opener. I think I'm going to ship this and not try to play a fair mid-range game. Alright, Leyline, Ancient Den, Mox Opal. This is going to be fine. I'm going to keep this and pitch Battlefield Improvisation. Now, something to keep in mind here is that this deck often jukes into Witherbloom Apprentice combo in the post-sideboard games. I think for the game that I am on the play, I don't need to overly respect Witherbloom Apprentice combo more than just Mana Tithe. But for the game that I'm on the draw, I might need to be thinking about Swords to Plowshares to just interact further. But we are doing stuff here. Mox Opal is live on turn 1. I don't think I need to put Colossus Hammer into play immediately. I can cast Equipment as though they had Flash. So my opponent could Thoughtseize me, and then I respond with Colossus Hammer. And I get a freebie card out of that. 10,000 IQ play. Now Sigarda's Aid lets us equip that. I have a 10 power creature on turn 1. And my opponent concedes immediately to that. And now it becomes, do I want Swords to Plowshares in addition? I don't think I do. I think I need to keep a critical density of pieces of my own combo so that I don't just outright die to the Thoughtseizes of the world. That's awkward. Unhappy keep. I'm going to put some ley lines into play. And if my opponent is on a juke, this is pretty bad for me. So I'm going to lose this Esper Sentinel here, I imagine, unless my opponent just has something very powerful to do and they can't wait for Mana Tithe to be gone. Alright, I am correct. Leyline Axe is not great. You have blue mana as well. They're just going to reanimate. I mean, yeah, that's happening. You can have the 20-turn clock. I'm not exactly casting spells right now. I don't need to cast this right now. There is a Bayou. Yeah. I will discard some cards. I've got some pretty bad ones in hand. Leyline Axe can go. 1 Battlefield Improvisation can go. This is just cast? Yeah, this is just cast. How do I feel about mutually assured destruction here? Pretty good, honestly. Target you. Let's party. Grizzlebrand and reanimate down the drain. Opponent does not copy. Coward. I will take 1 point of damage. That's totally fine. I just want to draw mana here. That's mana. So now I can go ahead and Steel Shaper's Gift and pay. Let me get my first Colossus Hammer. I'm not in any danger to dying to Witherbloom Apprentice combo in a single turn here. Okay. That's unfortunate. I guess I put this into play. I mean, can't really beat the top of the deck like that. Either the Show and Tell or the Grizzlebrand was totally blind there. I don't believe it is correct to hold up Mana Tithe to play around that line. Yeah, it's just frustrating. Do I have a Caracas? If I don't have a Caracas, I'm probably dead. I do have a Caracas. I get unmasked again. I am at 18. Opponent discards some lands. That is another Leyline of the Void. I don't die immediately, but I believe that I am effectively dead to my opponent's 7-card hand and 10 life. GG. Okay, opening hand goes Hammer into play, Mox Opal, no way to equip hammers. I don't think I am in for this on 7. Second hand goes land, Esper Sentinel, Ornithopter, Mox Opal, Retrofitter Foundry on turn 1, have multiple Pure Steel Paladins. I'll need a piece of equipment. Well, I'll probably have 1 Pure Steel Paladin. I probably just put 1 back right here. That's fine. Oh, we're playing against Hoenn Kiyoma. It's the mad scientist from Steins Gate. Love that anime. This is good enough to get a response from my opponent. Another Underground Sea Gamer. God damn it. Is it November yet? Seems like it is not November yet. Ancient Tomb. Sorry, Entomb is still legal. Notably here, this is a Thopter. I can make a 4/4 creature instantly. Okay, that means Animate Dead is not live immediately. Joy. Alright. There's an Archon of Cruelty. I'm thinking about whether or not I want to play around Orcish Bowmasters being in the main deck. The Esper Sentinel is the better card. I think I'm going to sacrifice the Ornithopter. I'm going to get rid of Stoneforge Mystic. I have lines where I use 2 mana to make a servo and sacrifice a servo. This is just going to rip away at my hand in a very negative way, though. Okay, we're going to play an Urza Saga for sure. I think I put the Paladin into play at the cost of Esper Sentinel and discard this land. I still have Metalcraft. Well, that's not true if I lose Esper Sentinel. Okay, that gives me Metalcraft back. Very happy that my opponent let me draw a card there. It's kind of a big deal. There's my opponent's land drop. I'm going to sacrifice the Esper Sentinel, junk the land, and maybe I draw a hammer and we get saucy. Opponent's fetching. Oh, they just get a Murktide Regent too. Cool. So that is a 6/6 blocker. That is not great for me. So I am between the Archon Cruelty and one of those 2 creatures getting in. I am basically dead. I could play Ornithopter. No, I don't have enough mana to make a second Ornithopter because I would need to untap Retrofitter Foundry. Yup. GG. So we need to be thinking about some number of these same cards here. And I just have to decide whether or not I think I have room for Swords to Plowshares. I don't know that I do. I feel very awkward trying to fit in the ley lines and the swords since the swords aren't in the main deck. How good is Nettle Cyst? I can see timelines where I tutor it. I go down these. I don't feel confident about my sideboarding with this deck at all. I think I am game for this hand. I start with 3 permanents in play. Bam, bam, bam. We're going to throw out an Ornithopter. And I could deal a respectable amount of damage with a double striking Ornithopter. I'm going to just throw out basic planes here past the turn. Good news is that if my opponent thought seizes me, I got nothing. Underground Sea. Tamiyo. We got something for that. I was really planning on using Urza Saga this turn, though. Delavy. Well, that is going to make my next turn really good. I think I'm just going to get this Tamiyo out of play, so Tamiyo does not do crimes. And if my opponent has a Brainstorm next turn and they play Tamiyo and flip Tamiyo, like, so be it. Second Underground Sea, there's Tamiyo. Cool, cool, cool. Healthy play patterns of Legacy at work. Tamiyo pluses. Sigarda's Aid. Yeah? Yeah? Say yes to this. Pick up the hammer. I think I just play the Sigarda's Aid right now. My mana is tight this game, and I think a lot of the times I end up just doing Urza Saga stuff anyway. My issue here is that Tamiyo is a dumb Magic the Gathering card, basically. I do have manual equip here. I do have uncounterable Stoneforge Mystic stuff. I would like to make an Urza Saga Construct token. I think I'm just doing this. Sending both creatures at Tamiyo and seeing what happens. Yeah. Cast a Colossus Hammer now. We're going to equip this to Stoneforge Mystic because Ornithopter contributes to an artifact count for Urza Saga. Okay, yep. Alright, we might just lose the game to Tamiyo just going up to 8 and then ultimating if my opponent has something that beats an Urza Saga Construct token. Tamiyo at 8. Cool, cool, cool. So there is an Urza Saga Construct token that can attack. I think I am making another one here. Then I think I will do the hammer immediately. The hammer gets equipped to Ornithopter. I'll drop an Ancient Den. And I will hopefully kill Tamiyo. Send at Tamiyo. Tamiyo triggers. Oh joy. Oh cool, it's a Surveil land. That means it's not Fatal Push. Yeah, I don't care if I lose one of these bodies to the Goyf. If I am killing this Tamiyo or very close to it, that is fine. This is now a 7-8 instead of an 8-8 because of the Tamiyo minus. Alright, opponent is just letting Tamiyo go. This is 3 to equip, so I can't move this immediately. That'll just be turn. That's land dropped 5. Alright, opponent is just passing the turn. That bodes very well for me. Here is another artifact land. These are 9/9s. We're going to equip one of these construct tokens immediately. And then we'll send in. Yeah. Okay. Overpowered our opponent there. That was embarrassingly close of a game, given that we started with Leyline of the Void in play and had like Colossus Hammer Ornithopter relatively early on. I suspect Tamiyo is not long for this world in Legacy. And so now we keep returning to this point of, do I actually want to play Swords to Plowshares for the juke cards that my opponent has access to? And I still don't know, because every artifact I take out of my deck makes Mox Opal worse. Every time I take a Leyline Axe out of my deck, I just lose out on that like double strike and construct thing that we saw at the end of this game. I don't think I want to play Swords, but I really, really don't know. This is a hand that is fine against a Tamiyo, is dead to Reanimator stuff. I have Sigarda's Aid and Pure Steel Paladin as the same side of the deck. I have Stoneforge Mystic and Urza Saga as the same side of the deck. My opponent has kept a 7-card hand. I just never beat the Reanimator stuff, ever. I think I have to mulligan this, and I hate it. Because if I mulligan too much trying to beat the unfair stuff, I will just lose to the fair stuff later on. Witch Enchanter goes back here, and I probably keep the third land so I don't just lose to Wasteland and junk one of these 2 cards. I think I'm going to go for the one that I can't proactively play out. Alright, so we have some Insulation versus the Reanimator stuff. Let's see if I just lose to Tamiyo or Goyf. Underground Sea and Thoughtseize. So I'm going to lose my Sigarda's Aid here, almost certainly. Yep. With another land as the draw, I am going to trade land for land here. Otherwise, that is perhaps something that I would not be overly excited about, because I think my opponent operates very well on few lands because Tamiyo is dumb. Yep. Another land is not good for me. I'm going to go ahead and just get this out of hand. It's my only card that can be thought seized as of right now. And as soon as my opponent has land drop 2 and can start cracking these clues, I suspect the game is over. All right, cool. So this is going to take a little while, but I expect that my opponent has won. Yep. All right, deck. I don't believe I boarded in Pithing Needle. I don't think it is correct to. But this does just kind of suck now. We've got Ponder, Polluted Delta, into Reanimate, Blow. I'm fucking done. I'm out. We're so dead. I am looking forward to Reanimator exiting this format. It is not okay. Alrighty. I have no white mana. I'm 1 artifact away from white mana. I think that just means that we ship this one. Whereas the 7-card hand is totally fine. We go Basic Plains into Esper Sentinel. I don't know that I need to keep Ornithopter here. It's not exactly doing anything immediately other than long-term Metalcraft. I'm going to assume that I draw or otherwise find another artifact, or that Stoneforge Mystic resolves before that. I don't know if my body can handle another Reanimator match. So please don't be Reanimator. Uh-huh. Cool. Yeah. Anyway, I am recording this during the week leading up to Eternal Weekend. So people are in try-hard mode, and guess what? There is a very clear best deck in the format. And it's not close. I saw some data earlier today that showed that Reanimator had positive matchups across the board versus all of the most popular decks. Yep, so my opponent reanimates on turn 2 around my Esper Sentinel, and I don't have Swords to Plowshares in game 1, so I'm effectively dead. I can't play multiple creatures per turn easily to get around that. I'll concede rather than showing my opponent more cards. And we will continue this song and dance where I'm not super comfortable with how I am sideboarding. I know that I need these 5. I've boarded out Paradise Mantle every round. And probably board out some of the slower things here. And potentially board out a couple of tutors. I'm going to try this. I have Metalcraft quickly, in theory, for Pure Steel Paladin, but I don't have enough mana with this hand, and I also don't have a Leyline of the Void. This is going to be fine. So it's land, Esper Sentinel, Mox Opal, Tormod's Crypt, Colossus Hammer, and then equip one way or another. I probably keep the body. Opponent's on 7. Esper Sentinel is in play. This is, I think, the big moment. Okay, cool. And I am just going to put this into play. Now we're insulated versus the graveyard. We are, in theory, drawing a card on my opponent's turn some very real portion of the time. No immediate response from my opponent. I believe this is a critical enough moment where I just give up the Mox Opal to play around Daze. There's Pure Steel Paladin. Equip of 0 on Esper Sentinel. Opponent's pausing as if they have interaction. No. Get in there, Esper Sentinel. Oh, there is interaction. That is a fatal push on the Pure Steel Paladin, not the Esper Sentinel. That's a battlefield improvisation, so my opponent is just taking 11. They are at 8. I can't cast this. I'm pretty darn likely to get another card out of this Esper Sentinel. Not this turn. Surveil land. Randomly hit one of the 2 fatties. Island. Well, I will get to kill a Tamiyo. Send in. Goodbye, Tamiyo. Pass the turn. Next land drop. An EE for 1. Annoying. There's a Leyline of the Void. That is a terrible draw. The EE on 1 is going to kill both of my relevant permanents, unfortunately. Ooh, I think my opponent's about to make a major mistake. They need to do this before it gets to my main phase, because this shuts off Metalcraft. Okay, they did it in my upkeep. That's fine. There's an Urza's Saga. This is almost good. Another land drop, another 0-cost artifact, and I am off to the races. Ponder is fine. My body is ready for the Murktide Regent. That I can't really preemptively stop, because I don't have another usable piece of Graveyard Hate in the deck. It's so hard for me to cast a Leyline of the Void at this stage. Another Ponder. There's a Tamiyo. We'll lose to that card. So I can cast this to give myself Metalcraft. So that next turn I have the 3 mana to make an Urza Saga construct token. And then hopefully I can just kill my opponent with it. But that EE taking me off of Metalcraft was huge. But I will just get eaten alive by clue tokens if I don't quickly close this game, even if I have the graveyard covered. Stoneforge Mystic is a reasonable draw. I'll have a 4/4 that will be a 5/5 in just a second. Do I care more about double hammer with my opponent at 7 life? No, I'm just going to get another body, but I have another thing to put the hammer on, so that a singular Fatal Push style card or Shoulder's Edict is not amazing against me. Exhibit A. Cracking the clue. Yeah, so I have to hold this to not die to the Reanimator nonsense, but like, damn it. But like, a Murktide is insane versus me. This Tamiyo will just solo me. This is terrible. At least I have Metalcraft still. I have to deal with flipped Tamiyo as of next turn, I believe. I'm going to say yes. Do I have the Nettle Cyst? I get the Nettle Cyst in this position. Opponent is fetching? Surveilling? That is an Archon in the yard. Okay, they're cracking the clue immediately, which means it's harder to just immediately flip the Tamiyo. So I guess I've got that going for me. But this feels awful. Opponent has more selection. This also transforms Tamiyo. I think I am largely ignoring Tamiyo, but this is problematic. My opponent just like minuses and then starts taking out my threats. Well, it would be real cool if this resolves. Real cool. Opponent has effectively 6 cards. Did not resolve. That means my attacks are not reasonable. I just have to pass the turn here. My opponent gets to crack another clue. And I might be forced to use my Tormod's Crypt when Tamiyo minuses on a Fatal Push, and then Entomb plus Animate Dead would destroy me. So we'll see if it happens. Yeah, this is obligatory. I just have to take this line, or I think I lose. But it's so clear that this is just Entomb Animate Dead now, right? Oh, it's a new Tamiyo, sure. Reanimate Esper Sentinel, sure. Go to 4. Okay, that's a really big draw because I did not have Metalcraft. So I'm always doing this. If I attack Tamiyo, my opponent can block with this Tamiyo. I think I'm just putting Nettle Cyst in. I don't want to draw my opponent a card with Esper Sentinel if I don't have to. They are already very far ahead in that regard. Tamiyo pluses. Stoneforge Mystic attack is not great now. Ooh, wow, Tamiyo is getting the clue. I suppose that is various degrees of reasonable depending on what else is in my opponent's hand. I think that tells me that they have more interaction. Oh. I don't know how I feel about that. I can't evaluate that play without knowing their hand, I don't think. So they lose their Tamiyo at 3 loyalty. There are 2 separate Tamiyo plus abilities in play now. Null Rod. That's not actually all that bad. Yeah. That shuts off my opponent's clue. They did not crack that prior to playing the Null Rod. So there's Nettle Cyst. Consigning the trigger, tapping out to do so. There's an Ornithopter. I'm thinking about waiting a turn to play this so that I can get Leyline Axe into play and then get Trample involved as well. I think I'm just going now. Send in at face. Opponent blocks. This is going to draw them a card. So I have a giant creature. I get Esper Sentinel out of the way. And hopefully my opponent does not have a removal spell. There aren't all that many removal spells, and a couple of them are in exile and can't be gotten back with Tamiyo. Petty Theft. Thanks, I hate it. Tamiyo up to 6. I can now throw down this Stoneforge Mystic again. This Tamiyo is incredibly threatening. To get a hammer into play, I think I'm just going to cast 1 since I have 2 of them. But this Tamiyo just ultimates next turn. I think if I don't win on my next turn, which is looking very difficult, I'm just out of this game. There's a Thoughtseize. There's nothing very relevant in my hand right now. I lose a Leyline Axe. Tamiyo is at 8. Murktide Regent 2. Cool, cool, cool. So my opponent has 10 power on board that I have to try to attack through. And the 2 bodies means that I can't force through. This is an insane person attack to me. I have shown battlefield improvisation already. Now I have an out. I didn't draw it, but I had it. I think despite my opponent being at 2 life, I can't win the game from them having half of their deck in hand. We're out of here. And honestly, that was a pretty miserable league. People are practicing Blue-Black Reanimator for Eternal Weekend, and this is not the time to be fucking around with fun decks. Alright, let's wrap this up. Overall thoughts on the deck list. Honestly, it's a really cool deck, but I don't think this is anywhere near viable in Legacy right now. We can goldfish relatively quickly, but that's what we do, is goldfish quickly. And I think this deck is not great versus disruption. There's a lot of times, especially after mulligans due to a large number of colorless lands, that this deck, if it loses one critical card to a counterspell or a Thoughtseize effect, the entire hand just falls apart and gets clunky. This deck is capable of some nutty things. Like, you can literally kill on turn 2 if you play a creature turn 1, and like start with a Leyline Axe in play so that you get the double striking Colossus Hammer nonsense immediately. I felt very uncomfortable sideboarding with this deck because it felt like everything that I remove takes me further away from my primary game plan of just getting my opponent dead. And maybe with more games, I would become more comfortable with how to sideboard. But if I need to bring in 5 cards, 4 Leyline of the Voids, and Tormod's Crypt every round, and I also need to consider Swords to Plowshares, like, I am stripping away my deck's ability to win if I am sideboarding 9 cards for the most common matchup. So sorry, Parker, we got absolutely skunked today. There were still some cool moments in the league. There were still some interesting, I'm gonna sneeze, still some interesting decisions, but this was a very bad time to be playing this deck, and I think this league showed how unhealthy the metagame is, with Reanimator just so easily able to win through things like Leyline of the Void and Tormod's Crypt, and Tamiyo just soloing games in the same way that cards like Ragavan and Dreadhorde Arcanist have done in the past. So it's cool, we've only got a month and a half left of this format before we get some changes and a much needed shakeup. And on that note, I'm going to go ahead and call it a day. Have a great rest of the day, folks. See ya!